What if getting rich isn't really about working harder, being smarter, or taking bigger risks, but about being closer to something most people never see? We're taught to believe that wealth grows through effort and discipline alone, yet history keeps telling a different story. Some people seem to move forward effortlessly while others run in place, no matter how hard they try. Why does money appear to multiply faster once you already have it? Why do opportunities seem to recognize certain people before they even ask? This isn't about secret conspiracies or moral judgments. It's about an invisible advantage that quietly shapes outcomes long before success becomes visible. An advantage rooted in timing, access, and position. One that compounds silently while the rest of the world plays catch-up. Once you notice it, you can't unsee it. And once you understand how it works, you begin to realize that wealth isn't just earned at the finish line. It's often decided at the starting point. The question isn't whether this advantage exists. The real question is, who benefits from it, and why do so few people ever talk about it? Money begins working long before effort ever enters the picture, and that is the part most people are never taught to see. Before a single hour is worked, before any skill is learned, money already shapes the terrain. It decides who waits in line and who walks through side doors. It influences which mistakes are survivable and which become permanent scars. This advantage isn't loud or dramatic. It's quiet, structural, and deeply human. People sense it but struggle to name it. You can feel it when two people put in the same effort, yet arrive at completely different outcomes. The difference rarely lies in character. It lies in what money quietly arranged in advance, setting the stage before the race even started. One of the earliest advantages money provides is insulation from urgency. When survival isn't constantly at stake, decisions slow down. Slower decisions tend to be better decisions. Someone who doesn't need immediate results can wait, observe, and choose timing carefully. Effort driven by desperation often leads to short-term thinking, while effort backed by financial breathing room compounds over time. This is why patience is often mistaken for wisdom. Money buys patience, and patience multiplies returns. The outside world sees confidence and discipline, but underneath lies the simple fact that not everyone is racing against the same clock. Money also grants access to information before it becomes obvious. Not secret information, but early information. Early awareness of trends, shifts, and opportunities changes everything. When you hear about something first, mistakes are cheaper and experimentation is safer. By the time everyone else notices, the most forgiving phase has passed. Effort applied early behaves differently than effort applied late. The work might look identical from the outside, but the results diverge dramatically. Timing, enabled by access, quietly tilts the outcome before effort is ever measured. Another invisible advantage is the ability to fail without being defined by failure. When money cushions the fall, failure becomes feedback rather than catastrophe. This transforms how effort is experienced internally. Someone who can afford to fail will try more things, take more calculated risks, and persist longer. Over time, this creates the illusion of exceptional courage or resilience. In reality, the emotional cost of failure is simply lower. Effort flourishes when fear is reduced, and money is one of the most effective fear reduction tools ever invented. Money also reshapes how others respond to your effort. The same action is interpreted differently depending on who performs it. Confidence looks like arrogance when resources are scarce, and like leadership when resources are abundant. People are more willing to invest time, trust, and opportunity into those who already appear stable. This creates a feedback loop where effort attracts support, and support amplifies effort. From the outside, it looks like momentum. From the inside, it feels natural. But the momentum didn't come from effort alone. It came from the conditions surrounding it. There is also the psychological effect of expectation. When money is present, success is often assumed, not questioned. This subtle shift changes interactions, negotiations, and even self-perception. People who are expected to succeed are treated as future winners. Doors open slightly faster. Mistakes are interpreted more generously. Effort placed into an environment of positive expectation produces better results than effort placed into skepticism. This isn't fair, but it is deeply human. Expectations shape reality long before results appear. Education is another early amplifier. Money doesn't just buy better schooling, it buys exposure to how systems actually work. Understanding finance, leverage, and long-term strategy reframes effort itself. Work stops being about exhaustion and starts being about positioning. Two people may work equally hard, but one is climbing vertically while the other is moving horizontally. The difference isn't effort, it's direction. And direction is often taught implicitly through environment, not explicitly through instruction. Money also protects energy. When basic needs are met, mental bandwidth expands. Creativity, focus, and long-term planning all require surplus energy. Chronic stress consumes that surplus. Effort made under constant pressure is fragmented and reactive. Effort made with stability is cohesive and strategic. Over years, this difference compounds dramatically. The world celebrates productivity, but rarely acknowledges how expensive mental clarity actually is. Social proximity plays a role as well. Being around others who understand leverage, opportunity, and scale normalizes behaviors that look impossible from the outside. Ideas spread through proximity faster than through books. Effort informed by lived examples moves differently. It avoids dead ends. It mirrors paths that already work. This isn't copying, it's calibration. And calibration is one of the most underrated advantages money provides. Over time, all these small advantages blur together. What began as timing, access, and insulation eventually gets labeled as talent, discipline, or genius. The story simplifies. Effort becomes the headline, and the invisible groundwork disappears. This makes inequality harder to discuss, because everyone points to visible effort while ignoring the conditions that shaped it. The myth survives because it feels fair, even when reality isn't. In the end, the advantage money gains before effort begins isn't about greed or morality. It's about structure. Money rearranges risk, time, perception, and energy before the first step is taken. Effort still matters, but it never starts from zero. Once you see this, success stories look different. Not less impressive, but more complete. And perhaps the most important realization is this. Understanding the invisible advantage doesn't make effort irrelevant. It makes it finally make sense. We like to believe that wealth is built by talent alone, that the smartest or most gifted inevitably rise to the top. But if you look closely at how fortunes are actually made, a more uncomfortable truth emerges. Timing quietly decides outcomes long before talent ever gets a chance to prove itself. The same skill applied at the wrong moment can go unnoticed for years, while an average ability placed at exactly the right time can explode into extraordinary success. This isn't about luck in the childish sense. It's about alignment, about arriving when the door is already opening. And most people never realize how much their struggle isn't about what they lack, but about when they arrived. Talent is static until the world is ready for it. A brilliant idea launched too early is ignored, misunderstood, or dismissed as impractical. The same idea, introduced a few years later, can be praised as visionary. History is full of examples where timing, not brilliance, separated obscurity from wealth. When the environment is unprepared, talent works against resistance. When the environment is ready, even modest effort is amplified. This is why two equally talented people can live radically different financial lives. One is constantly pushing uphill. The other seems to glide forward with half the effort, simply because the slope has changed. Timing matters because markets reward relevance, not potential. Talent represents what someone could do. Timing determines whether anyone needs it right now. Wealth flows toward solutions that fit the moment's problems. When demand is present, imperfection is forgiven. When demand is absent, even excellence struggles. This is why being early can be just as dangerous as being late. Early talent pays the cost of educating the market. Perfect timing lets the market educate itself. The difference between the two is measured not in effort, but in exhaustion. Another reason timing outweighs talent is that it shapes risk. Entering a growing market allows for mistakes, pivots, and learning in public. Entering a saturated or declining one punishes even small errors. The same talent feels bold in one context and reckless in another. People often praise wealthy individuals for their courage, without noticing that timing reduced the actual danger. When momentum is already present, risk is shared. When momentum is gone, risk concentrates on the individual. Talent doesn't change that equation. Timing does. Timing also controls visibility. No matter how talented someone is, they cannot benefit from opportunities they never see. Being present at the right moment exposes you to information, people, and chances that others don't even know exist yet. By the time talent alone notices, the early advantages have already compounded. This creates the illusion that some people always win. In reality, they consistently position themselves where change is beginning, not where it has already settled. Wealth also rewards those who match cultural timing. Certain behaviors, industries, and mindsets rise and fall in value depending on the era. A talent admired in one decade may be ignored in the next. Those who build wealth often sense these shifts intuitively. They don't cling to talent as identity. They adapt it. Timing allows talent to stay relevant, while rigidity slowly erodes its value. This is why flexibility often outperforms raw ability over long periods. Timing shapes confidence as well. Early success, even if partly accidental, reinforces belief and encourages further action. Late success after repeated failure drains energy and narrows perspective. Talent under the right timing grows bolder. Talent under poor timing grows cautious. Over years, this difference compounds into vastly different outcomes. Confidence looks internal, but it is often a response to external feedback loops created by timing. Another hidden effect is how others respond. Investors, partners, and institutions are drawn to momentum. They rarely support talent in isolation. When timing is favorable, support arrives easily, making talent appear magnetic. When timing is wrong, the same talent seems invisible. This creates a social amplification effect. The right moment attracts resources, and resources multiply results. Talent alone cannot trigger this chain reaction. Timing can. People often say, "I was born too late" or "too early," without realizing how literal that feeling can be. Entire generations experience different financial realities despite similar levels of intelligence and effort. Timing operates at personal, social, and historical levels. Wealth is not built in a vacuum. It is built within windows of opportunity that open and close quietly. Missing a window doesn't mean you lack talent. It means the environment changed faster than you did. This doesn't mean talent is useless. Talent is what allows someone to capitalize when timing finally aligns. But without timing, talent waits. Sometimes for decades. The wealthiest outcomes happen when preparation meets opportunity, not when effort meets resistance. Understanding this changes how we judge success and failure. It replaces moral explanations with structural ones. In the end, timing matters more than talent in building wealth because it determines whether effort compounds or cancels itself out. Talent is the engine, but timing is the road. A powerful engine on the wrong road still goes nowhere. Once you see this, success stories stop looking like fairy tales and start looking like maps. And the most important question shifts from, "How good am I?" to, "Is this the right moment to move?" Access rarely announces itself as power, yet it quietly shapes nearly every economic outcome we see. Long before talent is tested or effort is measured, access determines who gets to play on favorable ground and who must struggle uphill. Access decides which rooms you can enter, which conversations you overhear, and which opportunities reach you before they become obvious to everyone else. Most people assume success is about doing more, learning more, or trying harder, but few stop to ask why some people seem to know where to look in the first place. The game is not only about skill, it is about proximity. And proximity, more than motivation, often decides who advances. Access begins with information, but not the kind found in books or headlines. It is early information, informal knowledge, context shared quietly between people who are already inside the system. Knowing what is changing before it becomes visible changes how you act. You prepare instead of react. You position instead of chase. Two people can read the same news, but the one who hears the implications before the announcement moves first. That small head start compounds over time, creating outcomes that look like brilliance but are rooted in timing granted by access. Another hidden advantage of access is permission. Many economic paths are not blocked by ability but by invisible gates. Certain careers, deals, and investments are technically open to anyone, yet realistically reachable only through introduction. Access provides legitimacy before results exist. When someone trusted opens the door for you, your ideas are listened to differently. The same proposal that would be ignored coming from the outside is considered serious when delivered through the right channel. This isn't corruption, it's human behavior. Trust travels through networks faster than merit ever could. Access also changes how risk is distributed. People on the inside rarely take risks alone. They move with information, backing, and safety nets. Mistakes are absorbed by the system instead of destroying the individual. For those without access, every risk is personal and every failure expensive. This creates two very different relationships with opportunity. One group experiments freely, the other hesitates, not from lack of courage, but from lack of protection. Over time, the group that can afford to experiment inevitably learns faster and wins more often. Economic games are also won through access to people, not just ideas. Being close to decision-makers reshapes reality. You learn how choices are actually made, not how they are described publicly. This insight saves years of misdirected effort. Many people work hard on the wrong problems because they don't see how outcomes are decided behind the scenes. Access quietly redirects effort toward leverage instead of labor. And leverage multiplies results without requiring proportionally more work. Access influences confidence in subtle but powerful ways. When you grow up or move within environments where opportunity is normal, you develop an internal sense that things are possible. You ask questions others don't think to ask. You negotiate instead of accepting terms. This confidence is often mistaken for personality, when in reality it is familiarity. People without access are taught to be grateful for chances. People with access are taught to expect them. That expectation alone changes behavior in ways that accumulate over time. One of the most overlooked aspects of access is how it filters failure. When insiders fail, their story is reframed as experience. When outsiders fail, it becomes a warning. This difference shapes persistence. Access allows people to stay in the game long enough for probability to work in their favor. Without access, many capable individuals exit early, not because they lack skill, but because the cost of staying is too high. Survival, not ambition, forces their decisions. Access also decides which narratives are amplified. Success stories often highlight effort while hiding networks. We celebrate individual journeys and ignore collective scaffolding. This creates a myth that the system is neutral and outcomes are purely personal. But systems are never neutral. They favor those who understand them early and from the inside. Access teaches the rules that aren't written down, the shortcuts that don't appear on maps, and the behaviors that signal belonging. It's important to understand that access isn't always inherited. It can be built, but rarely through effort alone. It grows through relationships, trust, and time spent in the right environments. This is why relocation, mentorship, and social circles matter so much economically. Changing your environment can change your future faster than improving your skills. Skills matter, but access determines where those skills are applied and how they are valued. When we say access quietly decides who wins the economic game, we are not denying the importance of work or intelligence. We are recognizing the terrain on which they operate. A strong runner still needs a clear path. Access clears paths, shortens distances, and reduces friction. Those who understand this stop blaming themselves for outcomes shaped by structure and start focusing on positioning as much as performance. In the end, economic success is less about beating others through effort and more about standing where effort counts the most. Access determines that position. It decides which doors are visible, which risks are survivable, and which mistakes are forgiven. Once you see this, the game looks different. Not rigged beyond hope, but structured in ways that reward proximity over persistence. And understanding that truth is the first real step toward changing your place on the board.